Welcome back to another Barron Street Research Technical Analysis. I am Trade Alt. I'm here with Big Tig. We are just going to be ripping through some charts today. Nothing super formal. Just kind of see what we see if there are any good trade setups on the horizon. So Big Tig, feel free to talk while I'm kind of scrolling through here. But initially, I guess I'm already on DJI, which is your Dow Jones Industrial Average. I don't really have a ton to say. Although one thing that's kind of interesting, it's been down a bit over 9%, currently down about 9% off of its high. And, honestly, it's looking pretty weak at its current point. I do think that this literally this key level here at 45K, probably, in terms of support, this is kind of like an initial one that I'm looking at. Honestly, like kind of where it is, where it's bounced from so far, I would say, it's more of like a minor support, but I think this 45K level, I've had this level marked off for a while. That's this prior high before we had our tariff. April of last year, we had our tariff, crazy move to the downside, and then obviously like a V-shaped reversal all the way to new all-time highs. But I do think this level is very important. And then, just from your trending indicator here, which obviously during the tariff period, it went way below that. And this was an extremely, a volatile situation. But, like your secondary mean reversion type support sitting a bit below at 43, 43.6, something like that. So not too much to say. That's DJI. Although one thing I will say about that's kind of interesting is if you look at ES, okay, we're only down a little over 5%. And if you look at NQ, it's going to be something, it's to be a little bit more. I mean, again, down 6%. We were at its peak down 9%, but again, roughly down 6% or so. Kind of like my read on that is, the larger companies that are obviously in the Dow Jones, it surely seems like those are obviously being sold off heavier than others, and you have the Mag 7 in there. It's just it's going to be a place likely where you continue to see. I would expect more weakness in general from DJI than I would the others, just in general. So that's not too surprising, but it's basically like those funds are going elsewhere. So again, you're not seeing as significant drawdowns in some of the other indices, but in DJI you are. It's obviously down, a lot more. It's almost 10%. You're almost in corrective territory there, and I do think that that'll probably continue, if I had to guess. So on Nasdaq in particular, I find this chart very interesting. Something I've been watching for a while. This range EQ. So basically, we've been range bound relatively since October of last year. What does that mean? We've done basically not much, right? Just basically sideways. In this range, and this range, the EQ of the range, which is your midpoint, has been insane resistance for the last month or so. Every time that we've come up and tested this 25,150 area where this yellow line is, it's been extremely tough resistance, and we've been kind of like pushed down and pushed down and pushed down and pushed down over again. All in all, I don't really have I don't have much else to say here, although I do think, especially what's going on with oil and what's going on in Iran and the rest of the world, this is just like, for me, it's kind of a time to kind of like sit back and wait and see. So I don't know how you feel about that, Tig, but I personally don't have I have the least exposure that I've had in a very, 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 very long time right now. Again, not financial advice to anybody. But even again, just like from a technical standpoint, looking at this is just, we're range bound. It's very clear where your, short to midterm resistance is. It's very clear where your support is coming in around this range low. I think that, obviously if we're able to reclaim this range EQ, then I would look for another push, another attempt to push up to the top of the range. And quite simply, like the bottom of this range, we basically tested it last week and got again, a nice bounce back to your range EQ. I don't expect any real fireworks until you break either side of this range. And if I had to take a guess, I would think that we probably probe some downside before we make a new high. That's just my initial guess. But for now, again, we're range bound, and we've been range bound since, for the last 6 months or so. I don't really expect any, anything significant to happen from here. But I would say that things are holding up moderately okay in terms of like how the indices have been behaving during all of this. You're not like in some like crazy drawdown or anything like that, and I would say like there's some decent strength so far, but obviously one tweet, one headline, one anything can change the game quite a bit. So for now, range bound. Don't have much else to say about that. Just kind of waiting for a breach of. For me, it's the do we reclaim the EQ, or do we break your range low and kind of like have a bit deeper of a pullback. So I'm gonna keep ripping through these. Let's see. I don't need to do any of those. What's interesting here? Oracle. So Oracle is actually a really interesting chart. It's a really interesting chart. Basically coming into this, longer term, this longer term trend line, it's down pretty significantly off of its high, down 60% plus, something like that. This just seems like a really interesting place to kind of pick up and where it's trying to base itself off of right now. Just a very simple trend line, which like I'm a fan of simplicity when it makes sense, and which usually that's most of the time. But I do like this as a basing point in terms of it trying to kind of pick itself up here and look for at least some kind of a rally. We got a really nice move off of last week's earnings. Oracle had that. I think it was up what? I don't know. What was it off of that? Like 20%, not bad. But I do think that this is kind of one of the ones that obviously like if we continue to have downward pressure and then you start to see this trend line lost, then yeah, it's like I would be a bit careful with Oracle. I don't mind being a bit more patient with this one, because I like the setup. I like kind of what it's trying to do here, and in terms of at least looking for kind of a larger reversion to the upside. And I think that if the market at least holds, or again, like if we start to move higher from here, I think Oracle is kind of going to be one of those names that has a good chance at kind of outperforming what everything else is doing. I don't know what you think about that, but that's kind of my thoughts about it. I do like it quite a bit here. I think your lineup, again, very, very interesting level, bouncing off of support exactly where you want to see it, and start to trade below this, and I spent again losing this trend, and yeah, things kind of it won't look as good, but so far it looks pretty clean to me.
Yeah, I like it.
So
I mean, they have it's the biggest database company in the world, right?
yeah, I mean, look, 60% off of
Yeah,
your
some
high,
competitive advantage.
basically in a straight line down. I like for me, I like this at minimum. I like this as a reversion play, like even just some kind of bounce, even to like to 200, 220, something like that. Like I would like even just that. Although I
You
do
also
think
have the
that
earnings. The earnings were just came out, so like you don't have risk there.
yeah, I think like right now you have like broader market risk. Say like either side, but I think that it's at a very decent spot here. I don't hate it at all. I like this a lot more than I like a lot of other things right now. But yeah, Oracle again, kind of like 200, 220 areas, looking for some kind of mean reversion. I don't hate that at all. Which would be obviously from here, that's a pretty sizable move. But it's like you just pray the rest of the world don't fall apart. Let's see here. What do I want to look at? Copper. Oh wow, look at that thing. Are you kidding me? That was this week. Right down to the green box. So you got a really nice test. So because here's what I like about this. Okay, so this test, or not that well, this test that we literally just got this week. So if I drag this box out for you a little bit.
This is the futures contract, right?
Yeah. Was it? No, this is copper. Yeah. See. So but I like the test into here, which is basically this is just a very simple SR flip, SR zone that I like to draw. Again, you see very well this is red. So I like this in terms of like a really significant resistance. Even this is kind of the same thing. Well, it's as long as we're below it now, you have kind of like another intermediate resistance zone. I can drag this out. Just again, what was like really important support, you start to lose it, and then you make your way down to the next zone. And again, the thing that I like about this is you bounced right off of your SR zone, but also right off of your EQ. So again, this is your weekly Kijun, sitting here around 533, whatever it is. Nice bounce so far. I don't have much else to say. If anything, I wouldn't be too surprised to kind of see something like this for a little while. So maybe copper kind of like bounces around here for a little bit, and then again either reclaims this, which I would be then I would be looking for a much larger move to the upside, or if you lose literally, I would say that if you get a weekly close below this green box, then guess what? You look towards your next green box, which is down here. So that's kind of like how I play level to level, zone to zone, however you want to do it. But like for copper, to me, these are like very clear. Like you have very clear ranges, very clear support and resistance levels, and this one's not too difficult. It's pretty clean compared to most. So gold looks not the best at the moment. You got a pretty nice, bounce after that, nuke that we saw in February. And again, overall, not to get like too much into all of that, but it's kind of like when things are this weak, everything tends to be weak for the most part. So gold isn't immune from moves like this. What I would say is, you know, again, you're kind of looking at your Kijun down here. This is a very important level sitting around the low. This is, I would say, like this would kind of take a bit to get down here. One level that I see right away that's really interesting is something like this. I would probably draw a little bit of a box here. See if I can do something like this. As far as like a support region, obviously, like I'd want to see this Kijun come up a little bit more. You could drag this down a little bit more, and that would be okay. Let me see, what is this? So this is your quarterly pivots. Yes, so let's see here. We opened here, went up. So your quarterly pivot is sitting here at 42.29. I'll actually drag this down a little bit more and say that, again, as far as like an important level, like an important region for gold to kind of pick up and base itself around, it would be, I could see it a bit lower here. We'll see how this week closes though. And I think if it closes below your 10 here, which it seems pretty likely. I don't really know. Still got 20 hours before this candle closes, but if it manages to kind of pick itself up and get back above like 4,800, that would be a really actually pretty decent weekly close. In terms of like looking for this pullback and finding a nice floor, something like that. You close below here, I do think that I wouldn't be too surprised to see this green zone get tested at some point. So this is gonna look like a lot of stuff. I'm just kind of curious. Okay, yeah. So this is your 21 EMA. A close above that, not a bad close. So like this yellow line here, which I know I kind of got a lot going on. I can turn this off. That way it's a little simpler. But your 21 EMA, I think if you close above that, it's not the end of the world. Like it's, again, and you can kind of see, like looking at gold on this rally for the last couple of years, it's done a really good job basing off of your 21 EMA. And this is on the weekly time frame. This would be the same thing, right? So that's another thing that I would say is that like you close above here, it's this entire uptrend for the most part, it's stayed above. You close below that, then I think that's I would say is like another red flag, right? That you'd be looking for a bit of a deeper move to the downside. But as long as you're above your 21 EMA, I think that it's not the end of the world. Silver looks worse than gold, but still basing off of this, basically off of your pivot, right? It's like very close to your quarterly pivot. I'm gonna make sure this is quarterly. This is quarterly, yeah. Which, by the way, I mean these will reset in a couple of weeks, but I like how this quarterly pivot lines up at 50, which obviously like that, we're far away from that. But like if we were to break down and lose kind of these last two lows that we put in, then yeah, I'd be looking back to $50. Are you still there? Uh-oh. Hold on a second. Lost take. Yo, you got rugged. What happened?
Got rugged.
You got rugged huge, dude. I'm in the middle of an analysis. Why are you getting rugged?
I know, I know.
So anyway, back to this. Like I again like bouncing kind of off of where your pivot is, and it's so far it's been decent support. I do think that, you know, again, we lost tick again. But if we get back down to around this $50 region, I think this is another like really interesting level to look at. So yeah, that's silver. Let's move on to something else. Let's see here. We'll look at a few stocks. Let's see what Apple's doing right after 382. Not too bad. Got a decent bounce there. It's back on. Yeah. I don't have too much to say about Apple either. It's not really that interesting right here. I'd say if anything, probably a bit lower. This one, oh, okay. Wow, this actually is like, wow. Okay. So this is one that wow, I've actually been waiting for this trade for a while. The thing is, I don't know if this is something I actually want to take. Because I didn't set an alert, but we're down here back in this. This is a weekly order block. Literally in your anchored VWAP off of this low, like, and you can see that like basically where the bottom of this current weekly wick is right into that anchored VWAP off of the low. So this is a nice, I class this as being like a really nice confluence that I like quite a bit actually, at least for like some kind of a bounce here. But you know, again, I think that requires probably a bit more cooperation with the everything else is doing. But in terms of American Eagle, this one's not too bad. I kind of like, I've been waiting. This is the name that I feel like I really want to participate in, to be honest. But like in terms of like a trade on itself, this is not like a terrible place to be looking for a bit of a bounce off of here, I would say. I mean, literally into your 786 of this last leg. So you have like three forms of really nice confluence here. You have your 786 fib retracement. You have your weekly order block that it's been pushing back down into. You have your anchored VWAP off of this low before this big move up to the upside. Just like really pretty fair like confluence here in terms of looking for a long. But that's one. Yeah, that's interesting. It's like if I was a what I say, a company that I would be more interested in, kind of like getting back into a position with, which I rode this wave to the, I rode this wave up. But yeah, it's not, I don't know. Technically, this is really nice. This is actually like pretty decent. But I'd have to think about that one a little bit more.
We need Sydney Sweeney to do another.
Yeah, well, that's why I got in. Was literally that. It was anything else. As I heard she was doing her campaign, saw that, I was like, boom, instantly bought. It was an extremely good decision, but like and did very well on that one, and just kind of been really patient, like looking for some kind of a setup on it, and that's like it's actually not bad here. You know, again, not financial advice by any stretch, do your own research, but it's not like a terrible place to look for a bit of a trade. It's just like I don't know if I really want to be trading American Eagle today, or you know, like I don't know, I'm not sure. I have to really think about that one. Which normally when I have to think about it, then I just usually don't. But I could change my mind. Amazon, not the best. The 50% retracement here. I'm kind of curious. This is one that like I check every once in a while. Wow, okay. So 50% retracement here, and then off of this leg, you came right into your golden pocket. Your 618. There's your golden pocket. And you're trying to find some support here for the last month and a half. Not anything that's like overwhelmingly super interesting here. So we move on. And by the way, like with these, as we're going through them, like when I do this, I can look at something and I usually know within 10 seconds if I want to do it or not. Obviously, speaking about it and trying to tell you like what my thoughts are is going to take me a little bit longer, but normally I rip through these like really quickly. And this is kind of like my weekly routine. Usually, I usually don't do this until the end of the week because the market's closed. Gives me time to actually sit here, think, and kind of plan like what looks interesting for for Monday when it comes around. But this is kind of my routine that I have. I rip through all of these stocks or all of these charts and just kind of see, like, is there anything that stands out? Has there anything changed? Since the last time I looked at it, is something kind of like nearing a trade. So that's why we're kind of doing this. Dutch Bros, nothing really to, about like my thoughts on Dutch Bros. Kind of like back at, you see this descending triangle forming. And like, if you remember, I talked about this like last year. Like we were like literally looking at this last year. I caught this segment of it right here, caught that trade, and I haven't done anything since. And it's kind of coming back down to, again, the bottom of like this descending triangle, which is usually bearishly resolved. It's usually not the best. But we kind of haven't got that secondary thing that I've been looking for. And we are kind of like nearing the end of this triangle. So my guess is this probably resolves sooner rather than later. And if anything, again, I wouldn't be too surprised if we actually see a bit lower on Dutch Bros. But what I would kind of like to see is like if it's gonna kind of give a bit of a fake out, is to come down here to like the top of this gap and then chop around and then get back in and kind of give you like your classic deviation below your rate, basically below your low here, get back in, again, lose it, reclaim it, and then I would look for kind of a bit of a, it doesn't coincide with like breaking this trend line, then all of a sudden people get bullish on it, and then you get a really nice move to the upside. So that was, and I remember that distinctly, the last time that we talked about Dutch Bros a long time ago. But yeah, again, caught this part of it, haven't done anything since, been extremely patient with it. And like this is still supported until it's not, right? So like I'll just officially like mark this a key level, but it is 47.26, extremely important support. You start to break that, and then you worry about kind of filling in this. So like you see that there's a gap here. We don't see it because we're on a weekly time frame, but if you see it on a daily, you would see there's a really big gap up. But 47.26, a crucial support for it. Top of the gap here, 43.50. You start to break that, and then this thing is going to be, it's going to be a little bit of a problem there. But this is a company that I like personally. I'm not like the biggest. I think they have the best cold brews I've ever had, to be honest. Their nitro cold brew is amazing. I'm not really like a big fan of their other coffee. I don't think it's that great, but they have a really good brand. They have they're expanding a ton. They're I don't know. Am I really getting into like the fundamental analysis right now? I think Dutch Bros is a really solid company. It's just from a technical aspect, I'm not like super interested here. I already played it once. I'm not really too keen to want to try to pick it up here again. Although certainly, again, this is really important support. But this is kind of one that I'm just kind of waiting for like a really a next like clear setup. CAD dollar. I don't want to talk about this too much. I've been going to Canada a bit lately, so this is like very interesting to me. Whereas before I didn't really care about CAD dollar, but yeah, I don't know. I don't really have much to say. I guess what I would say is like this 68 region, very important. So it's like you got like literally like your clean SFP here, and you got a really nice move to the upside, right? I think that if you get back above your range EQ here at 75.5 though, and this thing's gonna absolutely rock it. So that's what I would say. Probably a CAD dollar, kind of like a different thing than I'm used to kind of talking about. I mean, you're good. Cloud flipped bullish here. You're above cloud. Like, it honestly doesn't look like too bad from a trend standpoint. Does it hold? I don't really have a strong opinion on it. But I do think that if CAD dollar goes back above 75.5, then you're going to see this thing absolutely rip to the upside. So, which I, as a U.S. citizen, don't really want to see, because then that makes my trips to Canada more expensive. I like, so don't really want that. I got drilled at the casino, by the way, in Canada, so I don't have any CAD exposure anymore, which is sad. And so I definitely don't want it to do that.
Get some CAD NOLs.
Oh man. So this is a really interesting one. I think these are something, and like I had been trading Conagra a little bit around here just because I thought that this was like a really decent area to be looking for at least a little bit of a bounce, which we got. I ended up getting out of this one, like I think I was up like, I don't know, it's like 7% or something, like not even like it wasn't anything like to write home about. But just again, see continue weakness in names like this, General Mills, ConAgra, like those kind of like consumer staples, or like it's just not just the higher yield type stocks just absolutely getting crushed. Then this is no, I mean, this is just bad. This is very bad. It had a
Yeah,
chance
General
here.
Mills looks similar.
Oh yeah, and I was in both of them. I was trading both of them because I was thinking, okay, like to be like this isn't the environment to be expecting these to do like to be outperforming by any stretch, But I was like, just from a trade standpoint, I was like coming into some interesting levels, and just trying to play a bit of a bounce. And I was really liking this, like getting acceptance back inside here, like it did, and then went right up to the key level on this, just nuked. I mean, just had no chance. So
Yeah, the Iran war happened.
yes, 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 yes.
You know,
And then
all
just
their-
hell broke loose, and oil ripping, and it's just all. Then you see what happens. But
corn, is
yes,
up,
like it's
all the
just it's
feedstocks are up.
yep. So this one though, I do think this is again at some point, these will, some of these lower like historical levels will start to come into play. This is one I'll keep an eye on. I'm not really that interested in doing like a really in-depth analysis right now on ConAgra, but I do think that this will be a nice pickup at some point, at some point in the future.
It could be a good like end of war play. Like
It will be a
like
solid
a
pickup.
lot
at
of the
some
grain
point.
prices will go
Um,
down, which is good. The oil prices will go down, which is good. So maybe
Chipotle, this is kind of this is another one that I traded this part. You remember Tig? I traded that part.
oh yeah.
And again, I have not had any reason to want to get back into it yet. And I think honestly, Chipotle probably moves lower. What I would like to see, and this is kind of like an odd one, is you have a nice channel. Tig, you know how much I love channels. But this one actually worked out quite well, which is why I sold getting up into this region. You're at your 786. I remember distinctly it was at $40. You have your 786. You're basically back testing again, like your channel, what it was support. You're kind of like flipping into resistance. And I was like, if you can get acceptance back inside of the channel, then yes, like you can look for a much larger expansive move to the upside. At least try to like test, some of these higher levels, but this does not look good. This was a really nice trade, but again, this is one that I mean, look, I think like my guess is this around this $30 region, you'll see another bounce. If it makes its way back down to around these lows, I would not be surprised at all if you get a really nice bounce off of that. It might honestly be playable. One level that I would set right now is this level. And literally what I would want to see is do you get a swing failure pattern off of this low? If I see that, for me, that would be a nice long. Again, not financial advice, but if I see a swing failure pattern, or what do I mean by, what do I mean from that? Quite simply, if this comes down, wicks below, and then closes back above. Because then you have your nice clear invalidation. Wherever the wick low is here would be your stop loss. And then you would be looking to take this back up. And if anything, it would be some kind of retracement of this. I would be looking at kind of your tip here, find kind of where your 50% retracement is, and see if that's in line with anything else. And again, this is not like I wouldn't. This part I'm just telling you kind of what I would be looking for, but unless I know exactly where that low is, and this even triggers, this thing could just nuke through this and keep going down, right? Like, so it's like this what I'm talking about might not even actually happen. But I do think that this is a really nice candidate for a potential swing failure pattern, which I love those trades. They're easy. They're easy to take. They're very they're well defined, but you don't know until they happen, right? And then be looking for a nice relief rally here, which like something off of just like around your SFP. I mean, you could be talking 15-20%, maybe even back up and give you another test of this trend line. That would be like 30% or something like that. It's very well like worth paying attention to. But that's kind of like the first, like if in terms of like a long scenario for Chipotle, where would I be looking for? That would be the closest thing. There's nothing here of interest. If anything, I would rather, if this kind of just chops around sideways for a while, then I would rather wait for it to get back into this channel. Do something different. This is going to take a while. Like just looking at how Cloud is situated too, by the way. I mean, this is just something that's likely going to take a while. And honestly, again, on a weekly time frame, as long as it's under $50, it looked like crap. So it really, I'm in absolutely no rush to, jump into something that looks like this by any means. But I think if it was to come down a lot lower, I mean, again, here's your COVID low. I'm not saying it's going down there at all. I'm just saying, like, you look at where your anchor VWAP is off of the low here. If it was to come down to like $25, kind of like around this region here, a lot of green. Sorry about that. I should actually change that because this is absolutely ridiculous. If you can't tell, I like the color green. I would say if it comes down somewhere around here, I'll give you another key level around 20, 23, $25, something like that, then I would be a lot more interested in trying to like bottom fish a name like this. Oh wait, I should not delete that. But yeah, Chipotle, again, it's kind of one of those, like, I like Chipotle. I don't hate it. The business I understand very well. And it's just, as far as the chart itself goes, it's not the best chart I've seen. So it's, it's not something I'm like overly interested in at this time. Costco, I exited my position on Costco. It doesn't look horrific. It's just kind of, it was having quite a bit of trouble around this $1,000 area, and I was long like I think from like 870 or something like that. So it's just one of those things. It's like having a bit of difficulty here. This is starting to, obviously start to range a bit more. From Ichimoku perspective, it actually doesn't look that bad at all. If anything, like maybe you're gearing up for some kind of bullish TK recross. But this is something that I would rather let prove itself, and I would be happy to get back into Costco at some point. I just saw a nice opportunity on this dip, and it was kind of one of those things. I didn't expect to like remain in Costco forever, trying to buy like at these levels. I just thought it was a nice trade. It ended up being a nice trade, but this is one that I would just kind of like to let simmer for a while and see what's what. Are we gonna get your bullish TK recross here and be looking for this trend to continue? I wouldn't mind even if I have to buy back in a bit higher. I don't mind that at all. Or is this kind of, again, you have like your high, low, lower high, lower low. Is this another lower high? And then are we coming in to test this monthly, something like that, or back down to 787? Then again, like, actually, I should. There we go. But that's kind of like my thought. And again, caught a nice. If you have noticed you notice a trend of like some of the trades that I've taken lately, they're shorter term, right? They come up to a decent technical level, and I'm not hesitant to get out of them, even if and ultimately like the ones have been pretty decent, but this is one that's just, we're at a level and there's a lot going on right now. So in terms of like, that was one of the big reasons too, is just we're having some consolidation up here, but the bigger global picture is not looking the best right now. So it's like I wouldn't mind just sitting it out and kind of waiting, kind of like waiting for like a really nice clear setup to come into play on some name. Is there any of these you want to look at? Oh, GME. I don't even want to look at that. So this is from our last analysis. And again, like it's just giving. So like it's giving. This is a pretty big zone, to be fair. But right now, with the overall kind of weakness in the market that we're seeing, it's giving another opportunity to kind of, it started to come back into this green zone. And to be fair, I haven't actually added, I have a very small GME position right now, which is why I like forgot about it. But I even told you yesterday, I'd say, oh, like, dude, remind me to buy GME. But I mean, it's coming into this kind of like key support zone that I do think is really important for GME. So like again, it's giving you multiple instances, over the last, several months to kind of like be in this kind of like accumulation that you're seeing here. Underlying fundamentals are pretty good, which like we have a GameStop video that we did. It was the very last video that we actually did, and like Tig did a great job giving his reasons for kind of why he was bullish on GameStop. I mean, you can look at this. This is going to be the cleanest chart that you'll see today, by the way, from anything you're going to see here from me. But it's just very clear about what target levels we're looking at. Like this is a very important zone to hold. And for me, again, like not financial advice, but it's not a bad buy zone for myself. You start to break below this green box though, and then you got problems. Which I don't like. I don't necessarily expect it to go down that far. Could it? Of course it could. But I mean, if you took it just from the bottom of this zone, that alone is like 30, it's 30, what was that, like 35% or something drop? There's like 35% of air, I would say, that's in between these zones. And it's kind of.
They have earnings on the 24th, which, it's not going to be.
Yeah, who knows?
It's going to be a non-event.
Yeah, it probably will be a non-event, right? But it's like,
He's
it's
milking the cash right now.
yeah, and like there's like this again. This to me is just a very important support region to hold, and I think if it's lost, we see some, so you can see some real significant weakness. I don't necessarily expect that to happen, but it's something that I'm definitely like prepared for. And it's like, if this zone is lost, I would not, for myself, I would not want to remain long. But as long as you're holding this support zone, targets to the upside, very clear. Target 1, target 2, and I think there's a target 3 up here as well. But these are like, this to me is like a pretty clear, definitive trade in terms of like levels of interest. So that's something that we'll keep monitoring. I just thought it was interesting, like since our last analysis, that again, it's kind of like been dipping back into the green, the buy zone again, right? So it's like it's giving, so I don't think that this is something that you necessarily have to like rush in to try to get, because it's obviously been giving you some time, but it is, it's in there.
It'll be interesting because we got earnings, and then I think October is when the warrants expire. So is he gonna make a move before then, or is he gonna let them expire?
Yeah,
it'll be interesting to see. I guess the market will decide that.
Yeah. Wow. So here's Humana. Give you a bounce where you'd want to see it. This is actually a pretty good one to take a look at, actually. This is a very good one. And I'll kind of explain what you're looking at right now. So this is a fixed range. And this is showing you your volume from your low here back in 2009 and this entire uptrend to your all-time high in 2022. So what is that? You're looking at like 13-year move on Humana. So if you take your fixed range tool and use these 2 points, you basically are looking at, you're analyzing the volume from those during this entire time, like where are some interesting levels. So here you notice it's marked HVN, that's high volume node. Okay, so this is just something to me that was noticeable. And we spent a bit of time ranging in here, which is, again, likely the reason why you're seeing that. But again, this is kind of like an area that you would want to see support held. If you ever revisit a level like this, your anchored VWAP off of your 2009 low before this 13 years of basically, very nice move to the upside, you're now seeing the opposite of that. And it's down substantially and continues to make new lows. These are not levels that you want to lose. This level I have marked off here. So first of all, your green anchored VWAP off of your low. It came in, tried, again, you actually lost it here. Then you rejected off of it and it kept moving lower. That's very bad. Your golden pocket. So here's a really nice confluence right here, okay? So low, high, golden pocket, right? So it's your 618 to 66. Nice golden pocket. And then your this is your value area high. So I'll mark this off very clearly so you can see it. It's this orange line here. So this is your uptrend value area high. Okay, so again, this is an important level to keep an eye on. Pretty good confluence with your golden pocket though in terms of looking for support up in this region, right? And you'll look, we came down, spent quite a bit of time ranging here. Where was your support? Literally those levels. We spent quite a bit of time trying to build a base here. And unfortunately, if anything, it's just a redistribution, basically, just another range. And then now you're breaking to the downside. So for Humana, unless you can get back above low 200s, I would say, kind of like get back into this range, right? So like if you're bullish on Humana for whatever reason, I don't know. But if you're bullish on it, like what you really need to see here, which is this looks very bad. But like what you'd want to see here is, you know, some kind of maybe a little bit of range, and then you get back above into your prior range, right? Into this prior range here. You want to see this be a deviation, you break back above, and then this starts to give you at least the first sign of hope. Okay. But as long as you're above, or I'm sorry, as long as you're below like 288 right now, this thing looks absolutely disgusting, and you're at 166. So I'll tell you how bad this thing actually looks. But this is bad. And this is very bearish. In fact, you just got another bearish TK recross to the downside. This is very bearish. So, boy, your next support, I would say. So like you're sitting, so right here, you're actually like sitting on the value area low, and it's kind of hard to see. Try to zoom in for you so you can see. So right now, you see like this red dotted line that goes across. This is your current price. It's literally where you're sitting at. But right now, you're sitting at like the value area low of this prior range from like 10 years ago. You know, which still historically, it's still important to me. But you are sitting there, and you're basically right at it. Any further weakness below this, and yes, I think that like this isn't good. Like this is very bad. This is very bad. If you can't tell, I've said that a few times now. This is very bad. But you start to lose basically where you are right now. I would say around like 160, and then I mean you're probably looking mid 130s as your next region. I would say mid 130s. So around this 136, 137 region is kind of what's next for Humana, unless it can pick up literally right where it is here and start to at least build some kind of a base and get back into this range that it spent, you know, a year and a half in. So very bad chart though, in terms of how it's looked. You know, what is it? It's down off its high. It's going to be an ugly number. 71%, just a 71% pullback. No big deal. But literally down 71% over the last, you know, 3 years or so, 3.5 years. Just and it's been an ugly fashion. So at some point, does this become a nice buy again? Probably, you know, at some point in the future is my guess. But this this is one that I am not touching. Just you need, for at a minimum, it needs to find some support, establish some kind of a base, like it tried to do here, and then actually start to turn around. And I'd be more interested in it. Yeah, like not many nice things to say. Kind of curious, like I mean, yeah. I mean, and these are again like so like 219. If it manages to kind of like even work its way back up there, which I don't think like this is certainly not postured to do that. But I think even like a move back up to like 190, 200 is probably extremely strong resistance. So this doesn't even look like it wants to bounce from here. But if it did, it's just I just think that that would be extremely difficult. It'd be extremely difficult to kind of get back above. So that's a good example. That's like a good chart to look at in terms of like just looking at, you know, I would say it's like it's an interesting chart. It's just you're long Humana. Sorry. Um, JetBlue. Wow, look, it's
that thing
back
was
to my
widely
zone.
held too.
JetBlue is like coming back to like the buy zone. I actually remember I told you today like we gotta look at airline stocks. I'm gonna look at airline stocks. This is one did, oh my goodness, absolutely crushed on JetBlue. But now it's like it's interesting. I mean, it's kind of like coming back into this region, and you know, this is one that I'd probably remain patient on. I'm not eager to jump back in not eager to like jump back in yet, but I do think I would not be surprised if got another opportunity to take a stab at JetBlue. And this is one again, like I kind of want to see. There's a lot going on. Let me get rid of some of this stuff. It's all old.
This is another Iran war.
Yeah, yeah. This is actually I'll leave that. Um, like for me to be interested in JetBlue immediately, I would say it's just like here, okay? So you had this low back in 2023, and then you had a massive spike up, and it came all the way back down and gave you this swing failure pattern. So if you remember, I don't remember what chart that was that I was talking about this. Was it Dutch Bros? I think I don't remember. It was one of those charts where I literally like outlined what an SFP looks like. This is literally what a swing failure pattern looks like. So it comes down, wicks below, but closes above, and then again it gives you another really nice move to the upside. Like, can you SFP and SFP? Yes. Yeah. The short answer is yes, you can. I typically like for me like what I would class as like a god tier setup is if this one here that happened in April on the tariff move to the downside actually did not take this low. That is like a phenomenal setup because if this kind of front runs it, gives you a decent bounce, and then comes back down and actually takes that low, that's what I would class as like an extremely strong swing failure pattern that I would be like highly interested in taking. But in this instance, I mean, like, can you, so again, the SFP is technically now it's here at 334, but like, can you come down into this region yet again and give you some kind of similar trade? The answer is yes. Like that's, and basically is kind of what I'm looking for. It is coming into this buy zone, but this buy zone is, I'd have to do a little bit of thinking about this, which I'm not really prepared to do right now. But I'd have to think about this a little bit more because this buy zone was literally for this trade. Like it was for this setup. Which I still think that like this is still like a really interesting zone. Okay. So like it is a very obvious, like incredible, like very, very important support zone for JetBlue in general. But I mean, like this is also a pretty big zone. Like from the top of the zone, just down here is 10, 11%, right? So it's like, if I think that there's a decent chance, like if, oil continues to rip and, et cetera, if I think that there's a chance that like I could see JetBlue kind of like make, kind of like continue this move that it's been on and probe some of these lower levels, then I'm just going to be patient and wait for that. And I'm not, again, this is kind of like American Eagle, similar thing. It's like, I'm not dying to get into this name, but I do think that there could be a really nice trade. Like there could be another really nice trade on the horizon. So this one I would just kind of like set an alert for that to happen. So if it comes down below 334, it's gonna ping me, and then I'll take a look and see what happens, like what the reaction is off of that. But yeah, this is definitely kind of one that's moved back up to I would say like the top of my list in terms of like interesting, like a level of interest that's up there for potential trade setups in the near, in the next maybe month or two, something like that is my guess. And the thing I like about this name is when it wants to rip, it can rip. Like it can move, which is good. So anyway, look at any of these other names here. Let's see. I haven't looked at Meta in a while. Like Meta, this is again one of your Mag 7 names. When I mentioned, like the Dow Jones, kind of like, well, it's overperforming to the downside in terms of everything else, that I'm not shocked to see Meta look the way that it does here, right? Like it's a very big component of that. And so I'm not shocked at all. I kind of like what I would say to piggyback off of what I said earlier is I think this probably goes lower. It certainly seems like it's going to kind of like drift lower a bit here, which I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind kind of this channel idea that I have here playing out, which basically would put Meta back around 550. So do I think it's going to go to zero? No. But I mean, you could have another 10% move to the downside here, and that would be totally okay. Which if Meta's down 10%, what's ever, ask yourself, what does that mean? So yeah, I could see that. And I am kind of like leaning that way. I am kind of, again, curious, like, how do these look? Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, this is okay. So, I mean, here, look, like the bottom of cloud is literally on this channel. So that's, to me, is good confluence. That's good confluence for myself. To kind of now you don't have a bearish TK cross yet. Are you likely to? Yeah. Say over the next 3 weeks, something like that, 3 to 4 weeks. So I mean, can this thing kind of like go sideways for a bit? Yes. I think you get that bearish TK cross. 540, 550, something like that could be a nice opportunity in terms of looking for a bounce off of there. And it would also be the bottom of this this channel that you see that I have here. It's just the channel idea. If Meta can get back above 690, then I think things will start to look a bit better for it. But for the time being, I think that seems like it wants to go lower. But below that, though, that's when it could be ugly. So you get your bearish TK cross. If it comes to the edge of cloud, I do think that this is like a really interesting long somewhere along the bottom of here, if given. But if you start closing candles, especially open and close a weekly candle below here, then it's yeah. Talk about that one if that happens. But you'll be looking for a bit deeper pullback. And if that's happening, oh boy. Netflix, I got extremely lucky on. And this is one, I'm not even going to lie. I got very lucky on this one. Now, the entry, no. The entry was very much planned. And for those of you who have been kind of like following our analysis on Netflix, both on my Trade Alt channel and on Banner Street Research, and the times that we talked about this, you knew why we were looking at this. And this is one that we did a very, very, very good job on. My exit, though, I would say I got very lucky on, and I exited at like 98. And still, like, can this continue higher? Sure. It just felt heavy. And I was trying to be very patient for my 103, 104 that I really wanted, which is, again, is basically your quarterly pivot. It's your full mean reversion, getting back up to your Kijun here. I just thought that was like a very possible thing to have happen, but I chose to not be greedy and kind of eke out the last $3 to $4 here because I saw how much resistance we were getting back at literally like this $100 level. And I just thought to myself, you know what, good enough is good enough. And that was a good decision so far. Now, obviously, this thing could, who knows, anything can happen. This thing could jump up, And then I'd have to look for another position at some point, which is totally fine. But just kind of this, did we nail this or what, though? With our, right? Like, with just like the deal falling through, like, absolutely nailed this one. But this is not what I just felt, again, like in like the sense of de-risking, which is what I've been doing. Like fully transparent. Like this is just not a name that I wanted to hold, even though we got like God tier entry on it, right? Like we got like a really, really good trade, but it's okay for me to just take the win there and move on, so I don't have to get greedy and try to like get my perfect target. But this is one that it's just, again, with what's going on in the world, it's there's just a bit of weight to kind of what's happening, So this is one that is like reevaluate, kind of see what we see. I would say this, that if we saw some weakness in Netflix for whatever reason, if it did manage to kind of revisit back around this $75-$80 region, I do think that is a very interesting level to look at. Like if for some reason this thing just started to kind of like chop around a little bit, something like that, I would be very, very interested. Like if it came back to around that base at some point over the next, 1 to 2 quarters or whatever. I don't know how likely that is. This for me is like, I'm totally fine to wait and see and pick another, again, this is one that I don't mind holding typically. I just obviously like the dominoes fell in place here so well that it's like I looked at this and I'm like, I'm foolish to not just take that and you know, find another setup basically. So that's the thought behind here. Nike is one I've talked about on my trade outs channel quite a bit. It's weak. It looks like garbage. Although I do think that again, it's kind of coming in. It's the same thing. If you notice, kind of a theme. And you're probably going to have quite a few stocks that that look like this, which Nike is just looks absolutely disgusting, and it's down astronomically. It's like a Humana level chart. You know, but we are nearing some very interesting support here. So I don't think I actually have an SFP alert here. I have an SF or I have an alert on this yearly level at $50. But I probably should put one here. Oh, I do. Never mind. It's already there. That is the one. But I am kind of waiting to see if we get a swing failure pattern on this. And take notes. Where did I trade Nike last? I caught this trade and did very, very, very well on it. And I've been very, very, very patient. Which there have been times where I'm like, man, I really want to get my position back. But I've continued to be patient, stuck to my guns. And so far, it's played out. It just takes a lot of time sometimes. But so far, get back in the range. Range high becomes resistance again. It fails the midpoint, and then you're back down here. Like what's likely, you know, what you know, you're getting kind of like towards your range low. Yeah. So anyway, Nike's very close to a potential trade. Either a swing failure pattern of this low, I would love to see that, and I would very, very, very likely take that long. Not financial advice there. And then this yearly level at $50, which it front ran here this last time, but you know, just slightly below that. So maybe like a swing failure pattern. I'll tell you what I would really like to see is like a swing failure pattern into the yearly, and then that gives you like your low. Oh my goodness, that would be a nice, that'd be a really nice potential trade there. Otherwise, don't look. Because if that doesn't happen, Nike's going lower. I'll just give you the forecast lower. And which, by the way, this is really bad. You know, coming up literally, so here's to put things simple for you. And really this one should be red because this is a, you know, this is an anchored VWAP from your all-time high here at 179. So this is a level that you know, that like from a volume perspective, from your all-time high, you want to see this get reclaimed at some point. It's likely to be a pretty tough resistance area. You know, kind of like it was here. It wasn't perfect like a lot of other ones, honestly, are. I'm a big fan of anchored VWAPs. But you know, just kind of like a general area, like when it's lost again, it's not a good thing. You look at your trend. Okay. So like, I'm just gonna get rid of this because that's really not that relevant at this point in time. These already broke through. This one, I mean, I could like, this one is, I'll leave some of these for later. But like the point is, if you look at the trend, okay, when's the last time Nike's been above cloud? All the way back here in 2022. It's never been above cloud ever since. Well, I'll give you a little bit of a hint. As long as it's below cloud, you're in trouble. Okay. And here on this move up, which is a big reason why I took profit where I did, is you look at how the cloud is shaped. It did a really good job holding as resistance, right? And what are you getting now? Another bearish TK recross below cloud. And look, like you get your bearish TK recross here. You even got your test. All right, so here's your cross. And you even had a move up into the cross. And you got even a final tap of your range high into your key June. And then just the floor fell out from under it. Okay. Which again, we're having a lot of geopolitical stuff going on. So it's like that definitely, that's like obviously not helping many things at all right now. But very bearish. Like this is very bearish. So like if you don't get your swing failure pattern, you know, if this yearly doesn't hold the support basically, and you start to get acceptance below that yearly level, I mean, this is bad. This that you're seeing, this is going to continue to move lower. Okay. And you're crazy. Again, I have to like call anybody out. Like you're nuts if you don't think it like that. This can continue. It can. So anyway, That's what I'd say about Nike. But like spending a lot of time on this one because it's extremely close to a potential trade. Unlike some of the other ones that we've seen. So, geez, what was it? JetBlue is getting close. Nike is closer. Nike is very close. Like it could be this week. Like we can tomorrow. It could even be tomorrow. Honestly, like if we have a pretty weak day tomorrow, we could see that. But ideally, like I mean, yeah, it could be tomorrow. But this is something that like could happen soon. So this is definitely like make a mental note of this if you don't mind, like because this is one that we need to like really keep.
This is on my list.
Okay.
I was gonna get you to.
Yeah. So Nike is like that is close. So Nvidia, man, this is. I mean, this is. I don't really have much to say. I mean, it's range bound. I think like you get a weekly close below 175, and then I'd be looking back down to kind of like where this range low is currently. That's all I'd say. But this is a very important region. You don't want to see this lost. But this is kind of, I don't want to spook anybody. I mean, this doesn't look the best. It's not the end of the world by any means. I mean, obviously, look at the chart. I mean, it's still holding these higher levels really well. This is just feels a bit long in the tooth for my liking. If you catch my drift, it's kind of I don't know, like not horrible, but yeah. Anyway, you want to see about 175 held. If not, be looking down in the 160s again. I don't hate it by any means. It's just this is I mean, by all intents and purposes, this is one that should continue to do very well, right? But we'll see. So again, nothing like overly interesting here. If it can get back above 190 again, I mean, the thing is, this thing is just range bound. It's like pretty well, like it's just pretty well coiled in this region. I would say it probably has to get back above 200 to be honest with you. Like it'd probably need like kind of like a clean break after a nice consolidation like this, and then to start trending again. But yeah, this is like it's actually like not very interesting of a chart to be honest. But it's just it's such a monstrous stock right now that anything drastic that happens to this either way is going to have obviously a very substantial impact on everything else, right? So I mean, the good news is it's still holding relatively well, right? It doesn't look like it's like very bad by any means. It's just this is just getting long in the tooth for me a little bit. So, but I wouldn't mind.
If this one turns over.
Oh yeah, we're in trouble. Yeah, we're in trouble. Everybody's like long. Yeah, it's not gonna. Yeah. Anyway. Moving on. I would say something worth keeping an eye on, for sure. But for me, as far as a trade coming up, I don't really have anything overly exciting. Again, probably this range low, somewhere in this green box, anchor view up off of this is your again tariff low, like very interesting around here. But it's not like that big percentage wise from here. But I mean like 7 to roughly 10%. I'll just round up a little bit. But I mean, if you have a 7 to 10% down move on Nvidia, you know what that's gonna do to everything else?
Yep.
So anyway, it's that big. Anything you see here that's interesting? It's like kind of.
Well, Tesla's always interesting.
Oh, Tesla is one that's very close. I shouldn't say very close. But this is one that I am like getting interested on, and I know this chart looks like a mess right here because this is again like this chart looks like a mess. Let me see if I can hide some of this just to. Yeah, so here is kind of like the swing failure pattern idea on Tesla, which you actually got that last week. Got like a little bit of a bounce, literally kind of like what I drew out here happened last week. But now you're kind of now you're in danger of, especially like closing a weekly candle below here. So like you're like at a really important region. Okay, it's kind of like where we are here. I back down to this range high around like 367, 368. Again, your anchored view out coming in here. It's just like really similar to Nvidia, right? But Tesla's close. It's you're very close to like a really important region. And like for me to draw another box here so I can zoom in. So you have your Kijun sitting here, you have your anchored VWAP from the low, you have this range high that I think is like a very important level, like that. This is an interesting level for a long. And I don't even want to talk about where I sold Tesla because people are gonna start to think I'm lying. But let's just say I did. I had a pretty good exit on that one. And this is one that I'm trying to be as patient as I can. And like I really want my position back. But the thing is, like, man, this is like I honestly have a hard time trying to figure out like how much I'm willing to let this go. And so far, I've been very right about it, but that doesn't mean anything. You know what I mean? Like so far, it's kind of doing what I would hope it would do, but I, this for me is a really tough one, just to be completely honest. Very tough. Very bullish on Tesla long term. Again, not financial advice, just my take on Tesla. I can talk, probably for an hour about why I'm bullish on Tesla. But I'm talking like for the long term. But in terms of like looking for another reentry here, this one's actually pretty difficult. I think like this isn't a bad place, but I think if this fails here, like if this box fails and we start to get back into this range, of kind of like what I think could end up being kind of a longer term range for Tesla, yeah, it could get pretty ugly. Which people were like, I ain't going back down there. Well, I got news for you. It could. you know, it could. I don't know how likely, but it's like it certainly could. There's no law that says Tesla will never ever go that low. It's like it certainly could. It's just you have to like bake into like the probabilities of like what's happening. Is Tesla or is Elon gonna buy another company where he's gonna go mess around and for a while and ignore Tesla again for another long period of time? I mean, you never know with that guy. Who knows? But yeah, this is a tough read. I was gonna say it's a very tough read.
Well, they have the TerraFab. It's gonna be I guess they're breaking ground in like a week, which is gonna be their chip factory.
Oh, right.
Which yeah, it's crazy how
well, they're stopping their model. Was it like a couple of? Was it the Model X and the Model Y or what is it? Which they're stopping two of their. Like they're not going to produce them anymore.
Model S. They're stopping the Model S.
Yeah. Oh, the S and the X, right? I'm pretty sure. What? Anyway, crazy. Like big changes, big gamble to do what they're doing. So very interesting. I mean, yeah. Again, who knows? Market might not like that very much, or it might like it a lot. Who knows?
Well, these chip companies are doing extremely well.
Yeah,
that could be one of the next ones we look at, like Micron. It's just up huge.
So waste management, okay. Just very briefly, I don't have much to say about this. I'm not in my position anymore either. I'm not in like I think I only have like 2 positions left, or like that I'm even in. But again, like this basically running this low. You see that? Front ran it, and then this week came down, touched the bottom of cloud. So this right here, okay, is why I like Confluence when I trade. This is what would like to see on Nike, but with that yearly level that was there. It's the same thing. So it's using your prior low here that is like very important. Get your swing failure pattern, And but like you come into like a really important support, which for waste management was the bottom of this cloud, right? And then you obviously like big move higher. And like this looks really good, by the way. Like this looks good. If I was looking to buy a pullback on waste management, kind of like first level, I would look at around 228. Secondary level, really you wouldn't want to probably see it come back in cloud. This will probably start to, as long as it consolidates at least up here for a little while, you'll see these start to kind of trend higher again. You already got your cloud starting to trend higher, although your cloud's very, very thin here. So that is one thing to note. Thicker cloud, typically better support, which you can see here, right? Kind of how that works. Very, very thin cloud here. Be, a little careful of that. But overall, not bad. Made a new high, currently pulling back. Nothing overly excited about this. This is one that I will likely not get a position in again anytime soon, most likely, I would say. Walmart, another one that's done, like I'm out of. This was a great trade. And, again, like the trend overall, still very strong. I don't have anything like overly negative to say about Walmart at all. It's start again, like it's part of the de-risking for me, and I was up so much on it that it was good enough. No other real reason other than that. Got a really nice exit on it again, but I'm not one to like try to like climb back in as soon as I can to Walmart. Now, I will tell you, if it came back to like 107, 108, I probably would. So like another test, if it did something like this, okay, like came down into your key June, just like it did here. Like if this was to come down into here, I would be very interested in Walmart. Very interested, but really not before that. So, I mean, which at that point, like, you'd be 20% off of your high. I would feel much better about getting getting another position at that point. Man, like I would be done by now with literally like all of these charts that you see. I would already have gone through all of them, but we're kind of taking a while to break all of these down. I don't know how much more time. I guess I kind of want to look at a couple. Like look at Alaska, man. This is what I'm telling about. Or this is what I'm talking about. Like I'm very interested in airline stocks. In terms of like looking for a potential position on some of them, just obviously like what's going on with oil right now. Like these stocks are nuking absolutely hard, and just kind of finding a level of interest somewhere around. Again, I don't know where that is without like spending some time to kind of dive in a little bit, but I mean, it's down.
Better be soon.
I mean, it's down, 30, almost 40% in a matter of like a month and a half. I mean, it's crazy. So, and I don't know. There's just something of interest. I was thinking about that today. It's like, you know what? Gotta look at some airline stocks. I probably will look at them this weekend and like kind of try to get like a plan together for like how I'd want to trade that. But it's just this to me, obviously like what's going on. Sometimes like I hate to like say like, oh, they're opportunities, but it's like they tend to turn into that. You look at the positive. It's just if you're trading, like sometimes these things, when the markets move either way, they're opportunities. So in terms of a lot of the airline stocks, I think there'll probably be some interesting potential. Wow, look at that. So look at this, okay? So Southwest right into your pivot. Wow, you're getting a bit of a bounce there. But I mean, even this one, 30%, 31%, not as bad as Alaska, but down. Interesting. How about Carnival Cruise? Carnival Cruise Lines here. I haven't looked at this one in a while.
I was actually looking at this one as a Cuba play. If they open up Cuba, it could be like a new market for the Royal Caribbean and
yeah, this
Carnival.
is one I have not looked at in a really long time.
They've been doing fairly well, actually.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't. It'd probably be lower for me. Interesting though. I've traded CCL a few times, just not anytime recent. Um, all right, what's maybe like one or two more.
Oh man, we haven't even gotten one.
Dude, last we just gotta do another one.
You want us to do it tomorrow?
We can,
I got
but I
like
mean,
I got like 15.
15. Okay, yeah. Well, that'll be tomorrow, or that'll be in the next one.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna try to like scroll and see if I see anything that I've been waiting for. Oh, well, this isn't one, okay? Don't laugh. This isn't one, but look, I did see this earlier. It's back at this
Back to where
this
we
range.
started.
Remember exactly, right? That's the point. Like that's the point. Um, back to where we said it was gonna go. So
Round.
I feel vindicated there. But yeah, I mean this is bad. Like this is bad. Um, I mean, man, you lose this range high, it's just gonna keep going lower. But this is why.
I think it may go to the good old zero this time.
Yeah, this is why you take profits, though, right? Like this is why you take profits, because holy smokes! I mean, look at Caleb. This is your chart, and I laughed at you so hard when we were going over this the first time. You absolutely nailed. And again, so let's take a guess where Tig was telling us to take a trade. It was here, by the way. That was Tig's trade. Very well. And I did not participate in that one. You can see where we were doing the analysis, right? It was literally here. He called it very early and got it crazy. I mean, it's in one of my one of my VIP streams, I think. But yeah, that's why you take profit though. My goodness. And again, do you see a weekly close above cloud? No, you don't. And guess what happened? Oh my goodness, all the way back down. The last time this thing was above cloud, $9. You get the point, right? And we're at 68 cents. As long as this thing is closing candles below, $2, basically. I mean, this is just, which is in no danger, very likely, of, this is bad. I know we're beating up on it, but I just thought that was funny because I actually did see that the other day. I was like, dude, we gotta talk about that one. That's a good story, though. You nailed that one, though. I give him all the credit in the world. He absolutely nailed that one. Even though when I was laughing.
Little five bagger.
Yeah, a little five bagger. No big deal.
No
big deal. But
yeah, it was a trade only.
It was a trade.
Trade only.
Oh, you guys love. What did I tell you about Roblox? Oh, is it working out? Oh my goodness. Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. This thing is working. You see, just trust the squiggly.
We had the kid alpha.
Trust this. I told you, my daughter had the alpha, bro. She had the alpha. It was. I'm telling you, we'll see if this ends up working out. It's got a little bit lower to go. Maybe like $50, $51, something like that. But this is. I mean, I'm not gonna get into that. But I was very bearish on Roblox the last time I talked about it, and it's working its way down. And Roblox, if you don't change what you got going on, I'm going to delete my squigglies and I'm going to draw them down lower. All right, let's see. Anything quick? Some solar stocks might be interesting next time or in a future one. I've been kind of wanting to take a look at them.
Yeah, we can do that tomorrow if you want. Maybe a good one today, since we're just talking about the metals and stuff, was Alcoa.
Alcoa, that's way up here.
Yeah, aluminum got
right here.
Took a big hit. Although it's been up a lot.
Wow. Okay, this is a really crazy. That's actually crazy. Wow. My initial thought on this, eyes immediately reverted down to here, around mid 40s. I can't okay.
So where did you buy this? You bought this in 36 or something, didn't we?
Yeah, but I've been out of Alcoa though.
I know,
but oh yeah, no, we were talking about this a long time ago. Yeah.
Or was it in the 20s? It was low.
So, well, it'd be it'd be down here. No, it was 28. It was $28. We were literally doing it here. And then this flipped, yeah. So like we were literally right here. So the last time that we talked about this like on a stream. The thing that's insane about this, so why I'm measuring this, is you have like this range that's developing that like you're having crazy wicks both ways, and this it's a 21% range. So it's like, right? Like that's insane, actually. Like look at this weekly candle alone. Like this weekly candle alone is just this candle alone is 22%. I don't know the last time I've seen something like this, to be honest with you. At this point, is it a little risky to maybe buy? I mean, I guess if you're really, really paying attention to this, like if even like think about this, okay? Like even if this kind of like continues just for a few more weeks. All right. Now I'm not trying to give anybody any ideas because then it's like incredibly risky. But this is actually really impressive, like in a way. Very like it's very, very clear support, right? So arguably like this is very clear support. And then you have what I would say is like very clear resistance, which like honestly, I like to use candle closes a bit more because I think that's like a bit more fair. Something like this, but like very clear support, very clear resistance. So we'll see what side breaks first. Because I think if this breaks to the top side and you get, $70 on a closing basis, this thing's gonna rip. And then to the downside though is that I think if you lose the support, then my first thought was mid 40s. And as volatile as this has been, I think when this breaks, it's probably will be as volatile breaking whatever side of this range it's going to break. So, this is I'm actually like really glad that you pointed this chart out because I've been ignoring it. So this is definitely really, really interesting one. And like, does this type of price action continue? Because if it does, you and I might have to have a little discussion about how we're going to trade this. But yeah. So again, I would say like secondary zone of interest on Alcoa is probably something like here. But this is crazy. It's a very, very crazy one. Whatever way this one breaks, it's probably going to have some follow through. So that's what I would say. Just be real careful trading something like this. But wow, like very impressive. So it's a good one to end on, though. It's a very good one.
Yep.
And if you made it to the end of this video, I do this from time to time. Leave a comment. Let me know that you did. I'll be very impressed. But this is going to be like an hour and a half.
Maybe we'll do my list tomorrow. There's some bangers.
So. Yeah, no, we'll definitely and like we'll and again like this to reiterate like this is exercise that I do. Well, it's part of my routine. Like I go through literally every chart that you see here. I go through them one by one until I'm done. But I mean, like I could look at this and I could kind of check this out. Okay, nothing here. Maybe like 225. Kind of wait for this, and then I move on to the next one, and like I just keep going, and I get through them very quickly. But I do this. I try to do this once a week. I don't always get to do it once a week, or if like it's been a relatively boring week in the market, and I know like there's not that much changed, I might not do it. But again, typically like just for good routine, try to like stay on top of what's happening. It's like, but there's some stuff that like I don't look at every single time. But for the most part, like I try to, and just kind of like take quick glimpses at that. But like Alcoa, I hadn't looked at that one in a while. That one was one that I haven't looked at in a while. But anyway, I think it's a good exercise. Like if you're trying to trade, you're trying to like, get better at it, get better at technical analysis. It's like, it's a good, I just think it's a really good routine for you to do. Like just kind of get in the habit of doing it because, and kind of like on the weekends, the market's closed, there's nothing happening. And obviously Bitcoin and all that's still trading, but it's like in terms of stocks, it's like it's shut down. Gives you time to like analyze. And well, I guess now you have some that trade. No, wait, are those are closed, aren't they? Like those are closed too. Oh, I think on Coinbase they are. Like the stocks that you can trade. I don't think they're open 24 hours. I've never actually tried or never actually done it.
I'm not sure about Coinbase.
But like Hyperliquid or stuff like that stuff trades
Hyperliquid's 24/7.
all the time. So,
Yeah.
but for the most part, like it's a good quiet period to like the market's not open, gives you time to think and gives you time to like go through your trading plan without having to worry about price moving or events happening and losing train of thought and that type of stuff. So I think
that's
when I
also good for just for us as far as kind of prioritizing the fundamental side too, with stocks that are at least close to or close to a buy zone or like breaking out
Yeah.
or whatever. So it kind of helps us get our subscribers in good zones.
Yeah, I agree. So anyway, that's it. Trade safe out there. We'll see you on the next one.